The United States women's national soccer team is about to win the Arthur Ashe Award for courage in their fight for equal pay. But I'm going to show you the facts and evidence on why this is one of the greatest frauds in American history. Just the facts, if you are open to them. Now, our story starts in March of 2019. The United States women's national soccer team are claiming that they are being discriminated against by the United States Soccer Federation. Now, their claim was that they're not being paid equally to the men's team. So, they filed their case in the United States District Court of California. Now, here are the undisputed facts and evidence that was induced from the court case. First, the United States women's national team claimed that the men's national team was getting paid more for equal work from 2015 through 2019. So the court looked at the financial documents to see if this was true. The court found that this was false. It was a lie. See, the men's national team was actually paid less than the women's national team during that time period. Shocking, I know. Here are the court documents. It is apparent that the women's national team players received more money than the men's national team players on both a cumulative and an average per game basis. Indeed, defendant expert opines that from 2015 to 2019, payments to the women's national team totaled approximately $24 million and averaged about $220,000, whereas payments to the men's national team totaled approximately $18 million and averaged $212,000 per game. Now, some of you watching this video may be confused. How can the women's team claim discrimination if they were in fact paid more, both overall and on a per game basis? Before we continue with this video, I wanted to ask you, have you ever Googled yourself? Now, it's scary, the information that's readily available for anyone to get. Now, you may be shocked, but there's a market for your personal information, and the people who buy and sell your data are known as data brokers. Now, these data brokers make a fortune selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live, to sell you stuff. Now, how many robocalls do you get? Let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, Aura. Now, Aura can identify data brokers exposing your information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. See, data brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard for you to do just that. So let Aura handle it for you. Now, Aura contacts these companies on your behalf and opts out, stopping them from selling your personal information, using the latest in artificial intelligence to do the work for you. But wait, there's a lot more. You get identity protection, credit monitoring, password manager, antivirus protection, a personal VPN, home title monitoring, and the data broker removal. All AI powered for about $12 a month. Now, you can either continue to let people exploit you and profit from your personal information, or you can do something about it, like going to aura.com/Nate the Lawyer to start your 2-week free trial. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Now, let's get back to the video. Well, the women's national team based their entire legal argument on the fact that if they were paid under the men's deal, they would have made more money when they won the World Cup. And when they did win the World Cup, they were being underpaid. Now, the court addresses this issue. First, the court recognized that the women's national team and the men's national team signed different contracts with U.S. Soccer. The men's national team wanted a high-risk, high-reward contract. They didn't want any guaranteed money and no benefits. So the men's team agreed to a pay-to-play deal. They only get cash if they play and win. So if the men don't play, they don't get paid. No benefits, no salary, that's it. You play, you pay. Simple deal. Now, the women's national team did not want that type of deal. They wanted both guaranteed money and millions of dollars in benefits. So no matter if they played or not. So the women's national team agreed to $100,000 salaries and a multi-million-dollar benefits package. Now, here are the benefits that they agreed to receive. 20 players would get a base salary of $100,000. 11 players would get salaries ranging from $62,000 to $67,000 for the National Women's Soccer League. They'd also get a one-time signing bonus of $230,000. Ticket revenue sharing at $1.50 per ticket. They'd get bonuses at the She Believes tournament and the Four Nations tournament totaling $5,000. They would also get a severance package, injury protection, health benefits, dental benefits, vision insurance, pregnancy pay, guaranteed rest time, child care assistance. They'd also get partnership bonuses tied to increased viewership, an annual payment for use of their player likenesses, a good faith effort by U.S. Soccer to host a minimum number of games, and they would get $250,000 to $350,000 for a post-World Cup tour. Now remember, none of these benefits are offered to the men. So the women's national team went for stability, safety, no risk, while the men's national team wanted only risk. Now, this also meant that the men's national team could make nothing. Zero. There were no guarantees. If the men didn't play, they didn't get paid. And shockingly, this actually happened. Remember COVID-19? During the COVID year, U.S. Soccer canceled all of their games. The men's national team didn't play any games, so based on the deal that they signed, they did not get paid. The women's national team also didn't play any games, but they made millions in both guaranteed salary and benefits. Remember, they wanted stability. They didn't want the risk. Here is the lawyer for U.S. Soccer explaining it.
This is about equal pay. These athletes allege that they were not paid as much as men. Overall, they say the rate of pay is lower than for them than the men, and the women win more. So what does U.S. Soccer say?
Sure. As I just said, the judge considered that very argument by the women's team and rejected it. He found that U.S. Soccer has paid the women equally, and as I said, in fact, more than the men's team. And what's really interesting is if you look at the structures of how the men's team and the women's team are paid, these are structures that each team negotiated through their collective bargaining process. If you look at the structure, the men negotiated and agreed to a system where they get paid only if they play. So literally only if they step on the field and play in a particular game will a male player get paid. The women bargained for and agreed to a different structure that they wanted. And that structure is that they get paid no matter what. They get paid with a guaranteed salary and guaranteed benefits. And we saw this play out most starkly during COVID when nobody was playing any games. And the women got paid. They got paid the entire year when all of the games were shut down, and the men didn't get paid at all. And it's precisely for these guaranteed salary and benefits that the women did bargain for this structure, and it's why they rejected the men's structure in their collective bargaining negotiations.
Now, this is not new. Generally, women in the workforce take jobs that are more stable and less risky, like social workers or teachers, while men tend to go for more risky jobs that have a higher upside, oil rig manager or construction worker. It's not based on discrimination, it's more based on preferences amongst the genders. This is the International Labor Organization, who did a survey and found these are the top occupations by gender. And as you can see, the more dangerous a job gets, the more likely men are going to dominate that job. And the more safe and stable the position is, the more likely women are going to be dominating those positions. So let's recap. The women's national team made more money. The women's national team also had a guaranteed deal, and the men's national team did not. The year after filing their discrimination suit, the women's national team made millions in both benefits and salary, and the men's national team made nothing because there were no guarantees and COVID happened. But it was the women's national team who were suing, claiming discrimination. Now, during an interview on NBC Today, Savannah Guthrie asked Megan Rapinoe if the women's national team would give up those millions of dollars in guarantees and be on equal footing with the men's national team. Because if you want equal pay, that's what it's going to take. You got to give up the guarantees and then you'll be on equal footing with the men. But listen to what Megan Rapinoe says.
If you talk to folks from U.S. Soccer, they would point out that in that collective bargaining agreement, as I understand it from them, the women's soccer team have a guaranteed contract. In other words, whether you play or not, whether you're injured or not, you get that money that is in your contract. Whereas the men, if they don't play, they don't get the money. Now, if you were to get equal pay, would you be willing to give up that guaranteed contract and really be on equal footing with the men?
I think it's okay that the compensation structures are a little bit different. I think our realities are a little bit different. Their MLS season goes the majority of the year. Our NWSL season only goes in the summer. So we're not saying that every single structure has to be the same, but I think from a broad sense, the equity in the contracts have to be the same
So-
and what we're able to earn.
You'd be willing to make some concessions on dollar figures for things such as what we just talked about, that guaranteed contract. Is that what I hear you saying?
Kind of. I feel like it's a little bit more complicated an issue of that, given the realities of both, the men's season and our season.
Did you look at the face of the woman sitting next to Rapinoe? She knows. She's actually cringing as Megan tries to spin her way out of this serious question. They wanted a guaranteed deal, but not the risk. And as a bonus nail against the women's national team argument, the court noted that the women's national team claim that they would have made more money under the men's deal is true. But the men's national team would have made more money under the women's national team deal. Remember, they got paid zero during COVID while the women got millions of dollars. So your next question is, why would ESPN give them an award for their claims if they're lies and mistruths? Maybe ESPN didn't know. Well, ESPN did know. To this effect, here is a clip of ESPN's acknowledging everything that I just told you. Check it out.
Well, two things stood out to me, and this is the compensation piece, which he completely denied and said that the reasons for that were, one, the women actually in this relevant period, which they're looking at, which is essentially the last 5 years. He said, one, the women made more on a gross standpoint and on a per game basis. And two, he said that their pay structure is very different. And this has always been something that's hard to explain, because when we came in as players on the women's side, this goes back to my days of playing, we wanted a more guaranteed type of contract. We wanted the security of injury protection because we didn't have big, large contracts with our professional clubs like the men do and did. And so we needed that security. And so we had injury protection, maternity protection, severance pay. And so there were a lot of other assurances we had in there. And it's a very different setup for the women. The judge obviously talked a lot about this in his judgment, and in his opinion, his 32-page opinion about that. So I think it was the fact that the women over the last 5 years made more money than the men, and two, that the pay structure was very different.
She's right. This is what the judge actually said. Now, this is directly from the court's ruling. Plaintiff also asked the court to conclude that the women's national team's players are paid less than the men's national team's players because had they been paid under the men's national team's collective bargaining agreement, they would have made more than they did under their own collective bargaining agreement. But defendants, U.S. Soccer, had submitted evidence showing that had the men's national team players been paid under the terms of the women's national team's 2017 CBA, they too would have made more money than they did under their own CBA. Is this sufficient to demonstrate that the defendant, U.S. Soccer, compensates the men's national team players at a rate less than the rate it pays wages to the women's national team's players? The court thinks not. This approach, merely comparing what each team would have made under the other team's CBA, is untenable in this case because it ignores the realities that the men's national team and women's national team bargain for different agreements which reflect different preferences, and that the women's national team explicitly rejected the terms they now seek to retroactively impose on themselves. The first time the women's national team requested bonuses equivalent to those received by the men's national team was in January 2016. The United States Soccer Federation rejected that proposal, however, because the women's national team was not asking for a pay-to-play arrangement similar to the men's national team. Instead, it was asking for all the upsides of the men's national team's collective bargaining agreement, namely higher bonuses, without any of the drawbacks, like no base salary. In May 2016, the United States Soccer Federation offered the women's national team a pay-to-pay proposal similar to the men's national team's collective bargaining agreement, but the women rejected it, preferring an agreement that involves some elements of guaranteed compensation. Okay, so here's the bottom line. The women's national team was paid more than the men's national team, per game and overall. They rejected a similar deal to the men's national team and negotiated guaranteed money over higher bonuses. Then, when they saw that they would have gotten more money if they took the higher bonuses with no guarantee, they sued, screaming discrimination. We want the non-guaranteed deal. And as you see, the media knew this was a scam, but pushed it anyway. So ESPN presented the women's national team with the Arthur Ashe Award for possessing strength in the face of adversity, courage in the face of peril, and a willingness to stand up for their beliefs. Even though they knew the whole equal pay claim was a fraud, they still pushed it as if the women's national team had been discriminated against, which was a total lie. Here is ESPN's first take and a host named Stephen A. Smith. Remember, this is after the court definitively showed that the women's national team was lying about the whole equal pay saga and that their equal pay claims were doo-doo. They were garbage. And in fact, the men's national team were the ones being underpaid. Listen to what he has to say.
You're absolutely right, Kim. And that's why I sit here today. I don't know whether the word, I appreciate where y'all are coming from in terms of celebrating this moment. Mm-hmm. As a man, I'm both sad and I'm disgusted because as men, we're exposed. Why the hell did it take a lawsuit for this to happen? See, that's really what this comes down to. Just think about this for a second. You had to go to court and sue for millions. You ended up with less than half of what you were suing for, but that's neither here nor there. $24 million. Congrats, to Rapinoe and everybody else. They deserve all the credit, all the affection, all the adulation, all the love in the world. It's a damn shame that it had to come to this. Remember the story we had to do last year sometime when the ladies somebody had to put it on their cell phone to highlight the discrepancy in weight room facilities that were available to the women Olympians compared to the men. The men had a fully loaded gym.
That was egregious.
Right? And these ladies had just some dumbbells on the side and nothing else in the same location. So you can't use that gym as women, but the men could use it. You find yourself saying, damn, it's almost incomprehensible how bad it is, how insensitive men who are in leadership positions, some of these men, not all, of course not, but some of these men who are in these leadership positions are so either deaf, dumb, and blind or so aloof, so dismissive about the elements of fairness. These women should not have had to sue them for this opportunity.
Of course.
For equity. They should not have had to go through this at all. In France in 2019, they had won their second straight World Cup. They're representing your nation. Whatever happened to they're ours. Let's take care of them the way that we would take care of the fellas. What happened to that? We got to go to court. Lawyers got to get hired. Time has to be spent. Negotiations have to take place and all of this stuff for equity. That is the sad state of affairs that as a man, I understand the ladies obviously celebrating this and I'm celebrating it with you as well. But I can't help but feel a bit sour about clearly the men who are in these positions of power that were willing to be dismissive and to diminish what these women's contribution was to our country, to the sport, to equality across the globe. We're a democracy. This is the United States of America we're talking about here. And you were willing to keep these women down and treat them in an inequitable fashion until they took you to court. And this is the new millennium. That's how bad it is. And it just shows you how far we have to go and how there has to be diversity in leadership positions, just like when we're talking about black folks. And you know what? African Americans, diversified leadership positions or what have you. That's why women need to be up in there as well, fighting that fight, because clearly the individuals in charge making these decisions are not going to do it on their own, even in the year 2022. It's a damn shame, but congratulations.
Of course.
Congratulations.
So at the end of the day, this was one of the biggest frauds in American history, and the media pushed it. The women's national team was paid millions of dollars, while the men's national team was paid $0 during that COVID year. And let's not forget, the women's national team had claimed they were being underpaid, which was a total lie. So, what do you think? Was the women's national team underpaid? Am I the one spreading misinformation? See, now that you have the facts and evidence, I want to hear what you think. But there's one last thing I want to say. If facts matter and truth matter, then why are these women getting paid even more money? Because their claims of discrimination were not true. They just weren't. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.